So Jim spent 32 years with the Dallas Police Department, 20 years on the narcotics division, and certainly brings a great deal of experience and perspective from law enforcement. Also a member of the Texas Police Chiefs Association. So if we would just begin, Jim, if we could, start with your perspective on the value that you see in video verified alarms, and from your perspective, what's the goal or the reasons behind them?
Well, I'll kind of give you a perspective from a law enforcement standpoint. When of course, anybody joins the police department, you're a patrol, and guess who answers the alarms? Patrol officers. And I saw it happen over the years. The majority of the alarms, I think 98% of them are false. So guess what? The cops don't treat them with any seriousness. If you get an alarm call in Dallas, they may and may not show up that day because they're considered low priority. I had the opportunity to work with Keith Gentoff with RSI Videofied to push an agenda which would help businesses and law enforcement, and that is priority response with the use of video alarms. And we got Chief Dye with Grand Prairie Police Department to hold a press conference basically saying, if you have a regular alarm, we're going to answer it, but it's going to be a low priority. But if you've got a video alarm, we're kicking that up to a crime in progress. In other words, we're coming with lights and siren. And it's also a safety issue for the officers, because if the officer goes out there and he's in a lax mood, and he thinks it's false, guy could be in there with a gun, and it could result in some serious issues for the law enforcement. So verification is extremely important, not only from reducing false alarms, but from an officer safety standpoint.
Okay, excellent. So from your perspective, what role would standards play in helping us to achieve some improvements in that area?
Well, I think standards are very important because, we got, if you took a pin and put it in the middle of DFW Airport and ran a string out 60 miles and you made a big circle, there's 8.2 million people in that area and about some 200 different municipalities. And each one has its own chief of police, each one has its own city government, and so if we don't standardize on something throughout the area, we're going to have a whole bunch of different responses to this issue.
Okay. So we understand that in all of the different municipalities, each individual PSAP is responsible for making its own decisions regarding the priority of response. What direction would you like to see the standards go from a development perspective to help those jurisdictions to establish some of those procedures?
Well, I'd like to see them all say, if you've got a video verified alarm, that it's given top priority. That would be our ultimate goal. Our Chief Kunkel, back in, I don't know if you all remember this, but he tried to implement a policy of no response unless the alarm was verified for businesses, and boy, it backfired on them. So this is a great alternative to that. If we can standardize on some type of a response with verification, I think it's good for everybody.
Okay, excellent. Jim, thanks very much for your comments. Appreciate that. We're going to move on.